Hello and welcome to a brand new series on, apparently not, Britain's biggest model railway, of course otherwise known as Heaton Lodge Junction. My name's Simon George, and basically this new series of videos is going to give you, the viewer, an insight into the construction and the progress really of a brand new extension which I'm going to be building here in the basement in Wakefield on Heaton Lodge Junction. Now, there's a couple of reasons I can't extend it lengthways. The first is it's 200 feet long already. Apart from demolishing the toilet, I certainly can't go any further backwards and forwards. But what I can do is extend it widthways, and I'm going to be doing that, taking you along on the journey, as I've just said. The other reason for not extending it lengthways, of course, is I don't want to be standing on the toes of certain celebrities who, of course, feel the need to bolt on another 20 feet to claim the world record or whatever. No, it's not about that at all. What it is about is really engaging the public when this layout goes out, when it's extended and finished. But before I do that, and I give you a walk around tour, just show you what's been done and what's planned. Let's just remind ourselves of why I started this project in the first place, because this really wasn't being all about the biggest and the best. It was simply about putting myself back as a child in the early 1980s when Maggie Thatcher was in number 10. I was sat on that embankment at that junction and watching the trains approach from, a mile and a half away. And to basically replicate that, you could only do it with O gauge and a big layout which was at least 200 feet long, which of course equates to about 1.3 scale miles in O gauge. So again, I just want to remind you, before we go on this walk around, of just exactly what this project, phase one in fact, was all about. Let's just take a look at a video. Okay, so here we are down at the fiddle yard side. Familiar to a lot of you who will have seen it either on YouTube videos or at the 3 exhibitions it attended. It goes back, I think, about 50 metres, maybe 48 metres. And the news is, of course, that this fiddle yard is shortly going to be lifted and relaid as a marshalling yard. But before I come on to that, just let me show you this. The gap, which again some of you will have seen, will soon be filled with a rendition of Heaton traction depot, the lines of which will join the down main and the up main to the left and right. So this gap actually works out almost exactly scale of the actual scale size rather of Heaton depot. There's 15 roads, many of you will know, and yet they all work out exactly, so they fit in really well and they can be connected to the roads, as I've just said, on the left and right. Let's just go back down. So the old fiddle yard, of course, which I've just said is coming up. The new marshalling yard is going to be similar with less tracks but many more buildings. A rendition of Healy Mills building, for example, is just about to be finished. And there's also going to be 4 or 5 gantry towers carrying the lights which shine down on the marshalling yard at night. They should look pretty impressive. I'm looking forward to seeing those. And this, of course, is where the extension is being built. So if we just dip underneath for a second, you can see the carts, which are bespoke metal fabricated carts, actually cost, would you believe it, in this day and age, less than the timber equivalent trestles on the left. So these are much easier to shift. As you can see, they're on pretty robust casters. They push on they push onto a truck, and again they've been measured so 2 can go either side of each other, because you've got about 8 foot width in an HGV. And if we go up above, on the right of the camera, you've got the 4 roads which are the new MGR sidings. So there's going to be a lot of parked coal trains pulling probably 38, 40 HAAs. One of these roads, in fact the one in the middle, which is just slanting off to our right, you can see that is going to be going up an elevated track section to an MGR unloading, coal unloading depot, which then is connected by conveyor to the power station, which is going to be opposite. You can just see those huge metal carts there. They're going to carry the power station, the cooling towers, and everything else on that side. So I guess you can work out that the width of this new extension is going to be round about 14 foot altogether. The pop-up banner at the far side, if you can just see that in the camera, is going to carry the new banners, or the new back scene, should I say, all the way around the full expanse of the layout, because it's just important that it's got some, you know, a really prototypical back scene. So again, the up MGR sidings on the right and the down MGR sidings on the left. So all in all, there's going to be about 10 to 12 fully loaded coal trains waiting here to be unloaded. And that unloading process, you can just see by the picture, the photo that's popped up, the coal actually drops through the bottom of the hoppers, which I'm modifying, over a conveyor belt and into the power station, which, as I've just said, is going to be there. So let's just go a bit further on. This is where Healy Mills building, by the way, is going to be, just down here. In fact, no, this camera does my head in. Right, so just where the gap is there that's being formed, Healy Mills, it's a rendition of Healy Mills motive power depot back in the 80s. Although, of course, many of you will know it was standing till the early 2000s. So that's going to be there. We've got a little MGR, or should I say HAA repair shop, which is going to be just here. Many unloading facilities had cripple sidings for HAAs. This one's no different. And I should say that this is a fictitious kind of rendition of a typical Yorkshire coal unloading depot. You can see it going back down there again. And then we have got the last thing, which is the station, which again is a very loosely based on a Lancashire and Yorkshire station. In fact, the station building is being built at the minute. That is based on Dewsbury, which is the old LNWR station, because it fits in really well. I grew up around there, and I know the area really well. So, of course, the real station had 2 platforms, not 3. This has got 3, taking on a bit of modeller's license. I always like platforms on a curve, but this was an absolute nightmare to build, simply because I laid the track first and then foolishly cut the wood to fit. And cutting wood with a circular saw to exactly fit the curvature of the track was not something I want to do again. So this will fit a 12-coach training pretty easily, and the track disappears off scene, as you can see by the bridges or the tunnels. They'll disappear there and then join the scenic section, which you can just see is over there. The wooden boxes in the middle, Tim Horn's just built for me again, because I just didn't want the trains to be seen when they're disappearing from the scenic section and reappearing again. So Tim's kindly built me these, which when fitted should look really good. Nearly coming to the end of this bit, we've got the multi-storey car park, which is actually based on a prototypical car park multi-storey in Nottingham. And I had a drive over there about a year ago just to take down some details. There's quite a lot to be done on this yet, but as you can see, it's going to have the ramps in the middle. It's all fully lit. It's going to have open and closing barriers, and the station building, there's going to be one there, and there's going to be the main station building, which is just going to be round about there. So there we have it. We'll just have one walk down again. This basement actually is so big, if you put your cup of tea down, you're never going to find it again. And there's so many times when I just cannot find tools I've put down. But there we go. You can just see, I guess, how wide this is going to be once it's finished. Again, we're going widthwards. We're not going lengthways. Don't want to tread on celebrities' toes, of course. But you can see just about how far that goes down. And as I've just said, the length won't change. So that's it. That's the new extension. There's a hell of a lot of ballasting to do. Ballasting is one of the most mind-numbing tasks that has ever been invented. I'm hoping to find a way of speeding it up, but trouble is, if you speed it up, you can make it look awful, and it really needs to be spot on. But I'm excited to see this when it's finished, because the sight of maybe, I don't know, 10, 12, in fact, there's going to be more thinking about it, fully loaded HAA trains or MGR trains is going to be brilliant to watch them slowly moving up and down, making lots of noise as they did in the early 2000s and even back to the 1970s and 80s. So there we go. That's our little walk around tour. Quick look at where the new extension is. There's a lot to be done, but I'm on it now, and speak to you in a sec. I just love that video of the 58. So back to the scenic section. Now, the news is here. There's going to be a brand new back scene. I wasn't completely 100% with the other back scene. It just needed a little bit more clarity. It's not the end of the world, but the new one's going to be much taller, and it's going to be stood way back from the actual scenic side itself. So there's going to be a gap of about 3 or 4 feet. But the news is that this side, the scenic side that all of you have seen, or a lot of you will have seen, is also going to be extended probably about 2 foot, only 2.5, maybe 3 foot tops. And what it's going to do, the reason it's going to be extended, is it is going to house a canal. Now, the canal is going to be difficult, to say the least. I want to make it out of real water, which I know people will shake their heads and say real water doesn't scale on a model railway, and they'd probably be right, but there's a reason for that. I said earlier that I just want to incorporate more movement into this new phase 2 section of Heaton Lodge. So I want some moving boats, some moving canal boats going through water. It can be done. The biggest issue and the biggest problem, the challenge to overcome, is obviously making these sections watertight on the new sections that are going to be clamped onto this side where the black side of the baseboards are. It's going to be difficult to make them watertight, but I've got a plan and I think it's going to work. A good friend of mine, Giles Favel, is currently working on, he's a great model engineer, he's currently working on the model canal boats. We're actually, interestingly enough, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be making the water thicker. So you can add something called guar gum to water, which actually thickens water just to the consistency of kind of, not even cream, I'd say kind of, milk, maybe a bit thicker than milk. But what it means is that the waves created by the moving canal boats actually move slower. And if it makes sense, it just looks so much more realistic. We're working on that, and that's going to be the topic of a future video. But the canal section is going to run all the way down here. So it's going to go from, I don't know if you can just see the right at the far end. So it's going to run probably about 30 meters. And the canal is actually really there at Heaton Lodge Junction. The Leeds-Liverpool Canal runs right next to the railway. So it's going to be a great feature to incorporate. At this point here, the canal, this road will cross the canal. So again, it's going to be a bit of a challenge to make it all work, but I am pretty confident that I can do. So there we go. And those are really the plans that I have got in the next 2 years. And the whole point of this is really to engage the general public. I just want to take this layout, not necessarily to exhibitions where all as modelers frequent every time. I want to get it in front of the general public. So one thing I can tell you is this layout is going to be going out to some out-of-town shopping centres. It's going to be in a huge marquee, which ironically was the original plan going back 10 years rather. And so people who come on a Saturday, of which there's going to be tens of thousands of people going into these out-of-town shopping centres. I've got a great relationship with a guy who runs one of them, and we think it's going to be a great idea to bolt it on so people can visit, apparently not, Britain's biggest model railway. And it's all going to be the public. And that's what it's all about, because we need in this hobby, and I've always been passionate about getting new people involved. It's not about being the biggest and the best. I say that, but, you know, in the first section of this video, I did mention that this layout had to be big because I just wanted to recreate that rendition, if you like, of the trains appearing from a scale 1.5 miles away, and that's the only way to do it, was to make this layout big. Now, just before we end this video, I'll just show you. These are some of the girder bridges that have just been built to carry the elevated section of the MGR unloading facility. So the trains will run through these girder bridges, of which there's probably about 10. I've just started painting these and been putting some rivets. You might be able to see I bought some plastic rivets and then sprayed it in Halford's primer, which has got so expensive these days, and then sprayed it in a stainless steel kind of, it's still got to be weathered obviously, but these are going to carry the railway, as I just said, which will house the MGR unloading trains. The trains will then come off the girder bridges, do a 180 degrees about turn and come back down the marshalling yard and land at the other side. Tim Horn of Tim Horn Baseboards has built me these lovely, these actually are going to be the piers. I've just been messing around with the primer, painting these, and then I'm going to be painting them a concrete colour to carry the track up via these, these, and then the track will then go onto these here. So there's a lot planned and it's going to be great. It's going to take 18 months, I reckon, but phase 2 of Heaton Lodge Junction I am very excited about. I just need to get cracking because I have a hell of a lot of ballasting to do in the next few months. Ballasting, as we all know, is one of the most laborious and mind-numbing tasks you can possibly encounter. So anyway, let's just go back and remind ourselves of probably just one more video, because I just love watching these videos. I took quite a lot of videos when the layout was down here in its home, if you like. Let's remind ourselves of another one. So, leading on from coal trains, we're actually in the storeroom between the two sides of Heaton Lodge Junction. And these are some of the 400, I think there's about 486 HAAs, which are going to make up at least 10, 12 coal trains, which are all going to be in the MGR sidings that we've just been looking at. A couple of Hellion EWS 58s waiting to be weathered and numbered, but yeah, I've got my work cut out with these as well, because there's a hell of a lot that are going to need to be dirtied with the old dirty black paint. In fact, again, let's just stay on coal trains for a minute and just I'm just going to digress and just show you another video on, in fact, it's one of my favorite videos, and it's just of 256s going past each other on the crossover back on Heaton Lodge Junction. Just take a look at this. Hey, so I hope you enjoyed this first video of the brand new series on Heaton Lodge Junction. Of course, now known as apparently not Britain's biggest model railway. So I just want to end by saying thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe this channel if you can. Be great to have you on board. Just as an aside, if you're into classic cars or supercars, classic supercars, check out my other channel, which is called Drivers Keepers, which is all about a beloved Lamborghini that I've owned for 20 years. Some of you will know about that. I love that car. If you like cars, and there's such a crossover between cars and trains, check it out, Drivers Keepers. But one last thing is, I just want to say a big thanks to Tim Home Baseboards, who's always a source of encouragement and a lot of help. I want to say thanks to Hellion, who stood by me through thick and thin, and there has been quite a lot of things recently. Dapple as well. Joe Bright at Dapple has been extremely understanding and helped a lot recently too. And of course the Pico, whose track you see behind you in this new extension, who supplied a lot of track for free to help me extend the layout, and obviously when it's on the circuit and when it's back in front of the general public, it should be a sight to behold. So thanks again, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Cheers, bye.